Hello, Future JJ. It is your past JJ here, and today I want to talk to you about the Confederate flag. But before I do, I want to do a quick apology for basically not having a video out last week. I wanted to do some experimentation, and it didn't really work out that well, and I figured that out while editing it on Monday night, and I decided it's better not to post this than to post something really trashy. Really quickly, you probably also noticed I got a camera. Also, if you didn't realize, last week or 2 weeks ago, I got a new microphone. So, on to the actual topic. So this has been a pretty decent week for liberals. Not only has there been the Confederate flag being taken down, but gay marriage was passed in all 50 states through the Supreme Court, which is amazing and a very historic moment. But back to the Confederate flag. For me personally, it's great that the Confederate flag is being taken down. But a lot of people have been saying, it's just a flag. And for me personally, that's not even close to true. But I want to explain why it's not. And I want to explain what a flag actually means. So flags are basically symbols that allow us to encompass a group of people, things, or an ideology together into one big identifier. We use these flags for competition, we use these flags for war, we use them for pride. Really, we use them for anything to allow us to identify ourselves in a quick, small picture. Basically, flags are an identifier. And as a result of it being an identifier, it has a huge culture behind it. Showing an American flag to different people all across the world will evoke different emotions depending on the person. And sometimes these flags can mean terrible, terrible things. For example, the Nazi flag or the ISIS flag. They represent terrible ideas that were passed in the culture as acceptable, and for a lot of black people, that is what the Confederate flag is, a symbol of a terrible time that happened. But to explain this further, we need to ask the question, why does it hurt for black people to see the Confederate flag? There were a lot of reasons for several states to leave, but the biggest one was slavery. It was said in many constitutions when they left, and for them, they thought it was a good idea. You see, slavery oppressed literally millions of black people. It broke families, it destroyed homes, it killed cultures literally everywhere. And of course, it killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of black people. And it created a social hierarchy where whites were the ones owning and creating the land generally, and blacks generally were the ones that were underneath, that were slaves, that couldn't leave. They were looked down upon in many ways. Basically, it spread racism, prejudice, and hatred all across America, and in many ways, it's our foundation, which is a scary thing and very odd thing to think about. So that's why it's not just a flag. Instead, it's a symbol. It's a symbol of hatred. It's a symbol of slavery. And for many others, it might not be that. For those who mention Southern pride, for them it's about those states' rights. But we have to remember that these flags represent a culture. And with a culture comes both the great things about it and the terrible things about it. That's why flags evoke different emotions between everyone. The Confederate flag, it's not just a flag for Southern pride. It's a flag for slavery because it represented a time where slavery was acceptable, where racism was acceptable, where people were advocating for it. Personally, when I see this flag, it's a warning sign to keep on moving. For example, when I went down to Southern Virginia to see some amazing caverns, I passed by a single Confederate flag, and I was 9 years old at this time. For me, I didn't understand why people would have a flag from the Civil War, especially from, well, the losing side, the one that was for slavery, the one that was basically for hatred. And for me, that flag scared me. It scared me that people were waving it patriotically. For me, it kept on saying, keep on moving, we don't like your kind here. And to the other side, who was saying that this isn't ending racism at all, of course it isn't. It never meant to end racism. But that's because there was never supposed to be a single solution to end racism. It's supposed to be a ton of different little things coming together to end it. We're never gonna get that one single opportunity to end it because it won't end that way. Heck, it might not end at all. The thing about this is that it's a step forward. It's a step in the right direction. It means that when I walk into Target, when I walk into Walmart, when I walk into any of the big chains, I won't see a flag for something that represents that hatred I've seen all my life, that I've been taught about. It means that when I'm walking across a federal building, I'm not gonna see the flag that represents that slavery, that represents the oppression that black people went through. And finally, it also means that we'll have the ways to at least openly shame the people that put it in their stores. And there is historical context. I do support this in textbooks and of course in games and art, but of course there's a limit to that. For me personally, it's the black version of the Nazi flag. And honestly, for once, I'm glad that we're finally treating it like that. So to future me or anyone else who's watching this, do you feel like there are less Confederate flags out there? I'd love to know your answer in a year. So can't wait to hear back, and of course, see you next time.